Hey everyone, James Reeves, TFBTV. In your average TFBTV video, you guys know that I like to do the top 5 with influential people in the gun industry. Their 5 favorite guns. No one more. Big influencer, pal of mine. Huge influencer, this guy here. Kevin Brittingham. Been following him since I was in college. Back in your days at AAC, perhaps one of the most
influential
people that I know. Some would say an influencer, or super influencer, if you will. And so that's why we want to see your super influential top 5. But I think you did 6, didn't you?
Go to my OnlyFans. We should have done this on OnlyFans.
Well, I have onlyfans.com/gunshorts.
We should have done this there.
Yeah, I know.
Probably would have made like $26 this month.
Yeah, at best. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump right on into it. The water's warm.
Yeah. Well, so I went in my gun room and I started looking around when you asked me to do this. And then I saw what happened was there's no way for me to pick 5. And so it sort of morphed into guns that were probably influential to me that I think influenced like my career and way of thinking about firearms.
That's what I love about the top 5 is it's deliberately vague and everyone kind of takes it. It is just as expositive to see how people define the top 5 as it is to see the actual top 5. So thank you for the explanation.
You're welcome.
What do we have first?
Well,
it could be in any particular order. What do we got? Cabana Boy. Where's the bell?
All right.
So we've got wonderful pick.
The H&K MP5SD.
One of my faves.
A3. 19, shot this gun for the first time and never shot a silenced gun before, and that sort of put me on this path where we are now. Fell in love with silencers. I didn't understand why they weren't on all guns, and it's the thing that got me really passionate about silencers and addicted to like signature reduction of firearms and small arms. Made the shooting experience so much better than shooting any other gun where I had to wear ear pro and everything. And so it's influenced so many things in my career, I mean, it's where 300 Blackout happened and replacing the MP5SD with the Honey Badger. And so it's still a favorite of mine. I love to shoot it. But also now, from 30 years down the road, I don't like the MP5SD because it's heavy, it's complicated, it's not extremely accurate. But at the time, it was just revolutionary to me, and there was nothing that compared to it.
Great answer. Would you say that perhaps the MP5SD has some responsibility for the trajectory of your career?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I would probably be a dirtbag attorney if it weren't for that moment in my life.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. God damn. Let's go to the next one. Cabana Boys. All right, big sexy Liam. Get over here with that Honey Badger.
Little chocolate chip.
He's chocolate chip motherfucker.
So, I mean, the OG Honey Badger, the Honey Badger SD. So, just gave part of it away, but, it's 3 pounds lighter than the MP5SD. It's about 100 times more accurate, about 1 billion times more lethal. And it's very interesting to me because it was done for a specific purpose, for a secret group. And, it was dormant for a long time, and it gets into a video game, and we start producing the gun commercially at Q, and then you see how many companies now produce something that if you search it on Gunbroker, they even put Honey Badger in the description because they make something with a collapsible stock and a short barrel, and it's just like the Honey Badger, just cheaper.
So in a way, like the MP5SD influenced you, but now the Honey Badger is influencing other people. This is a very influential top 5. But I want you to tell the story because I think the evolution, like things kind of coming full circle, especially with the MP5SD, the genesis of the Honey Badger. Tell that story, please.
Well, there's a U.S. military organization that was testing 300 Whisper, the predecessor to the 300 Blackout cartridge, and they couldn't get it to work reliably. So we were building signature reduction devices for this organization, and they asked us to look at it. And it was intriguing to me, and I knew within a couple of weeks there was a future commercially and in the military for 300 Blackout. So having a short barrel AR-based gun, so whether it's a 416 or an M4 or Mark 18, whatever the gun is, where you could have a 30 caliber cartridge with the power of the AK out of a short barrel, but also have the subsonic functionality of like the MP5SD. So to be extremely quiet, but have both of those. And they wanted the ergonomics and all of the M4 platform, the stoner rifles. And so we started set out to replace the MP5SD and all of these groups with the Honey Badger.
See, and I think that's a really cool story, especially considering that you said that the MP5SD is kind of what put you on the path that you're on now. And then ultimately, however many years later, you end up replacing it. I mean, that is what happened, and that's an amazing story.
Yeah, I never really thought of it like that. But to me, I think it's my career and all the products is there's a thing out there, how can we make it better? And sometimes that leads you to a niche that you realize there's a capability gap that we could develop and fulfill.
Wonderful firearm.
Yeah, thank you.
Cabana Boys, you know, one of my faves, just not in this configuration, but I get it. It's so hot right now, too.
Well, this influenced me more. So it's M16A1, just a basic gun, and then it's got, this particular one has a Vietnam era silencer on it that was intentionally made to be very inexpensive, something that could be mass produced that helped to mask the muzzle flash and also the sound reduction. But the gun itself, I love the simplicity of the M16, I love the ergonomics, and especially the M16A1. I mean, that gun is right at 6 pounds, you know, and you see 50 years later, companies are still making ones that are smaller and heavier than this. So select fire, the gun is so easy to shoot, it's so great to shoot, the guns are accurate, the sights are great. I mean, Stoner just did an amazing job on a lot of things that I think are overlooked now, you know, that a lot of guys will, probably younger than you, have never had one with a carrying handle or iron sights on it.
Yeah, sure. And a lot of people don't realize that the 223 was introduced with the M16.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is kind of funny. You know, everybody just thinks that the 223 always existed, and but it was a proprietary thing. So, and again, like you've introduced a couple of calibers.
Yeah.
And they've been introduced alongside a platform. So again, I think we're seeing another analog with your career here. This looks like a kind of a piece of shit silencer, and like they welded an A2 birdcage on the end of it for the flash suppression. Is that really what it is?
I mean, it sort of is. And if you look at it like that, what are you trying to achieve with this? And for them, given the requirements and what they were trying to achieve at the time, I think it makes a lot of sense. I've tested this silencer. It's an aluminum 556 silencer. There's very little flash. It's reasonably quiet, and it's lightweight and doesn't add a lot of weight to the gun. It doesn't affect the operation of the gun. So it's a high volume silencer, so there's not a big increase in bolt velocity or back pressure that causes malfunctions in guns. So
I always say if it sounds dumb but it works, it's not dumb. So this one kind of looks silly, but I mean, I guess you're telling me it works.
Yeah, I mean, when you place this in the period in which it was
pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was a cool idea. I think it cost them like $21 or something to make those silencers.
What's it called? What's the suppressor called?
I don't remember now. It's in my silencer book that's coming out soon with Ian McCullough and James Rupley of Head Stamp Publishing. So you can look it up there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. When's that coming out?
I don't know. I keep delaying it. They wait on me for stuff. It's supposed to come out like last November, so it'll probably be next November actually.
At best.
I mean, but I just did some of the work recently that I was kind of slacking on.
All right, boys. Getting pruny. Come on, get moving. Oh, I see this one coming. Okay. This is an interesting iteration of one of my most favorite submachine guns, the PM12. And I got to meet Paulo Parola, who was one of the designers of the PM12 at Beretta last year. I'm hijacking your top 5. I apologize.
I love it. I love it.
But I think this adds a little context to it.
A little flavor.
And he spoke obviously very lovingly of the PM12. Everybody likes the PM12. Yeah, it's a little heavy. It might be a little obsolete, but you can't bust them, and they're an absolute joy to shoot.
Yeah, so they're wonderful guns. So those were dual trigger guns, so one for semi, one for full auto. And it's interesting when you look at that series of submachine guns, over the course of the war, they start getting very simplistic. No more wooden fore-end, no more barrel shroud. They take off all the extras on the gun. And then, you know, after the war, the Model 12, then the 12S, this gun become, you know, the evolution of that. So it's the generation of open bolt submachine guns where they have a lot of travel, they shoot smooth, they're so nice to shoot, you can hold them on target. And this is an interesting one to me because at the time when I got into guns, you know, it's during like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis time. And the MP5 is the sexiest gun, and I love it. I had an MP5, I had the K, I had the SD, and I got this gun because it was like $500 as a pre-sample. And I get it, and I shoot it, and I didn't want to like it as much as the H&Ks, but over time, and you know, now here we are almost 30 years later, and I have a barrel nut replacement silencer on there, so the gun's very quiet. I much prefer shooting this gun. It shoots better, smoother, you can be more accurate with it with rapid fire than you can the MP5. And it's simplistic, so I love that. It probably has a third of the parts in it. Yeah. It's very easy to work on. And so there's something beautiful about that as opposed to something very complex as the H&K. You know?
Yeah, and Mr. Parola, again, he was like, yeah, you know, he doesn't speak English, but the translator said, oh yeah, Mr. Parola said that you can set it on fire and throw it under a tank and pick it up and it'll still run. So it's an impressive piece of machinery.
Yeah, it's not delicate. So, I mean, so it's a great engineering feat, but even guns of this era are very similar type, you know, whether it's an Uzi or something else, this gun shoots so much better than all of those. The magazine in this gun is wonderful, easy to load, very reliable. I mean, they spent a lot of time and effort on this series of guns, and they're beautiful and they work great, and they're one of my favorites.
Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, man.
Oh.
I gotta admit,
the Stoner 63A, so the SEALs used it during Vietnam. This was such an engineering feat at the time, and probably in a lot of industries this happens. This gun was way ahead of its time. So this gun, it's in LMG configuration as you see it. So that's a 20-inch barrel. It fires from an open bolt, the most modular gun in the history of modularity. This gun, you can change where the charging handle is. So I like the under the fore-end, which it's set up in that way, charging handle. But you can have one that comes back on the left side of the gun at the receiver. You can set it up that way. You can set this gun up as a rifle, so not just an LMG, but a rifle. You can do Bren configuration where it's a top feed rifle. You can do right hand and left hand feed for the belts. They're folding stocks, telescoping stocks, fixed stocks, other folding stocks, different barrel lengths. You can configure this gun in any way, and it shoots great. And it's like half the weight of what's the current one called? I don't even remember.
What, the M249 Saw?
Yeah, the 249.
Yeah.
So this is like half the weight of the 249.
And it did modularity before modularity was cool.
There's still no gun this modular. There still
That's
isn't
amazing
one.
to hear. And quite an endorsement, especially from you.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of special features of this gun, and it shoots great. And this gun, I purchased it in 1997. It's a pre-sample original Cadillac gauge gun. There's only maybe 20-something. And it was the second most expensive thing I'd ever purchased in 1997, the first being my house.
That's really funny. But
yeah.
You really wanted this.
I did.
This is, I mean, it sounds like there's a little bit of almost an emotional attachment to this design.
Oh, yeah, I love this gun. I mean, Stoner was so brilliant.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the apex of the small arms, what he was able to do. And the government, it's like they didn't even know what to do with it. And, you know, it's sad. I think it was ahead of its time. It's still my favorite LMG to shoot, and I have tons of them. This just beats everything.
Is this the last one? Oh, look at this. What a one to end it with, too.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's pretty arrogant, but, you know, I made it because it is kind of, well, it's my favorite gun right now and has been for 7 years. So the fixed rifle, we were wanting to do it for probably 10 years of the concept to come up utilizing modern materials and manufacturing methods to design a bolt gun today that would be everything you would want. And Yeah, I love it. I use the gun about every day. I hunt with it. I spend half my life hunting now. I hunt with it. Our engineering team did a better job than I could have ever asked for this gun.
In 30 seconds or less, what is the fix?
The fix is a utility rifle. It's a bolt-action rifle, so you're able to travel with it anywhere and, not really subject to assault weapon stuff. But it's modular. You can change caliber, barrel length easily anywhere. Folding stock, full adjustability. It's the most wonderful gun you'll probably ever own.
I would say that I think dollar for dollar, even though it's a bit of a pricey gun.
It is.
As far as bolt actions go, I think this is tough to beat dollar for dollar. Like, you can spend more than, what are they, like $3,000 or something?
Yeah.
You can spend more than that, but I don't think you're going to get more, if anything, in the way of performance. At that point, I think you're buying ornamentation.
Yeah, for the most part. Like, if you want a gun to shoot 1,500 meters with or shoot PRS with, you need a 20-pound gun that has all this other stuff. It's not what this is. This is a usable gun. I wanted a utility gun that you could use and would use for everything. So it needs to be lightweight, easily adjustable, but features on it like the 45-degree bolt throw. No one else can do that still. We did it 7 years ago. When you buy an expensive bolt action, it's generally you're buying someone's time for weeks. You buy a custom Remington 700 base gun, you're paying $6,000, $10,000 for it. That's because someone hand fit it all. When you buy this, you're paying $3,000. That's a lot for a production gun, but what you're doing is paying for the innovation and the dozen engineers that have worked on this gun over the years.
The Honey Badger, I would say your flagship gun. I've been saying that. I think it's the gun that you're most known for. But something tells me it feels like your heart is in the fix.
I don't know. I love all my children.
Sure.
But, the youngest, the baby, always gets a lot of attention, I think.
Yeah, sure. And as it deserves, because I was blown away. It was 2 days ago. First time I ever shot a fix, first time I handled it. I'm extremely impressed. I'm really excited to bring everyone at TFBTV the tour. We actually built a fix, which was kind of neat and actually way less complicated than I expected it to be.
You're so close. Are you sweating
This
yet?
is very provocative video.
Right.
My wife can't watch this video.
All right, everything's fine.
So that was a pleasant surprise. The whole experience was a pleasant surprise.
So you've been very pleasant yourself.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, your experience too, people could sign up and anybody can buy a fix and come and build their fix. We have so many spots a year that we do it, but it's a great experience. And I tell people, the fix is so different than any other bolt action rifle. It's really the gun to come and build, because you'll build it with engineers and they will tell you every single part of the gun, why it's done a certain way, and it's all done for a specific purpose.
And I think that's really neat that, like, they can come up here and they can just build it, right? Yeah, and I also think it's super generous of you, like, if they do 2 of them, that you let people come and use your hot tub. Like, that is such a cool offer. Thank you, Kevin, for being on the program.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you for walking us through your top 5. We're kidding, of course, about the hot tub. Don't try to get his top 6. That's right, and he will have you arrested. Probably.
Well, it depends. Send pictures.
Yeah, send headshots first, guys. Stay tuned. We're bringing you more from Q. Let's get weird. It only gets weirder here.